Alright guys, welcome back to the show. Today we are going to be sanding our walls, plumbing them up. We're going to show you all the details that we do to get that done. But before we get started, don't forget we have design services. We can help you design your barndominium, your shop, garage, whatever the case is. Reach out to us. We have a whole process from acquiring land to budgeting, all that good stuff. Also, we have a self-build group. It's for people that are going to self-build a structure, a post-frame structure. We covered self-building topics. It's a great community of other self-builders where you get to share your project and get valuable information from them as well. Check that out. But let's go ahead and jump into the show. So once you have two sections of wall up, bring the lift in here or your ladders, whatever the case may be. We will take a ratchet strap. And then we will suck these two sections together. If you watch there. So we will use a ratchet strap, start at the bottom, pull it tight, nail the girts in, and then we'll work all the way up to the top. And then we know that our wall is exactly the same size as it was on the ground when we built it. And then we'll just continue doing that all the way down the wall. So just a quick recap, once you get two sections of wall up, start at the bottom, get yourself a ratchet strap, pull the girts together, and just work your way up the wall, nailing it. You can see I did that by myself and just using a ratchet strap. So the lift does make it quite a bit nicer, but I've done this many times without a lift, so you can do it. Well, the guys finished sucking that last section together. I'm hooking chains to the top of the end columns, and that way we can square and plumb our wall this way. Sometimes when you lift, you can't get them off a little bit. I can visually see that this is off a little bit and needs to go that way. So I'm getting my chains ready, and then we'll straighten this and get it kind of locked down. If you're wondering what it feels like to run a business, just strap a big chain over your shoulders, and that's what it feels like. Before I ratchet this, I'm going to check both ends, and they should be the same out of plumb because we built this on the ground and matched up the tops. But I always like to check first. It's exactly the same. So I can just go to the middle, ratchet it, check in the middle, ratchet it, check in the middle. Once I get it plumb, check both ends, and I should be good. So now that the whole wall is built, we'll run a chain from the top up there as far as we can down to here. Same thing that way, so we have an X essentially. We will plumb this wall, so we'll get it as close to as possible. And then once we put up our corner columns, we will get those exactly perfect, because that's where it's going to come into play with the roof being square. These columns aren't, when you get into really long ones, they're pretty straight, but every once in a while you can get a little drift in them. So when you put your plate level on there, you just want to get it as close as to the center as possible, and then that should be good. If you built your wall on the ground properly, where the top and bottom are equal distances, when you get it up there, you're going to end up just fine. So keep that in mind. Do this wall here, I'm going to show you kind of how we break it down. So these are 19-foot sidewalls. It's an 80-foot wall. So what we've done is we've laid this whole wall out, and then it works out perfect that if I lift 3 columns at a time, that's 3 lifts. So that's all I would want to really do. You could probably go 4. The reason I chose 3 is because that's an equal amount of lifts, and my wall will still stay balanced. That's one of the most important things when you're lifting a wall, especially a really tall one, is you need to lift it in balanced sections. So either do 2 columns at a time or 3 columns at a time, but you got to strap them where that weight is evenly distributed. So you can see that's actually the corner one just laying free. So we have 1, 2, and then 3. And on this one, this board will stay with that section, so we just have a screw in there. So we'll take these screws out on every other one, and then those girts will stay with that wall. And the same thing over here. We gotta take these screws out because that girt is nailed in to those columns. So that's pretty much how we start it. So typically don't do my porch posts right away because it causes problems when you're lifting. If you have to lift from the outside, I actually prefer to lift the walls from the inside if I have room. This is only 36 wide, so I don't have room. I built this wall, laid the other one over it, and so we're lifting from the outside, which is not my personal preference, but some guys do like that better. So one thing's to be noted is we have the center of this column lined up with the center of this mark. So when we stand this column, we know that we have to make sure that these are pretty tight for the most part, but we make sure that that lines up with there on each one. But we will strap over here and over here, and then we lift this, it'll lift evenly. Tricky part here is we have these brackets, so we're gonna have to have the machine at a little bit of an angle, which does cause some problems. A telehandler would be great for this situation because you could just reach out over this. So what we'll do is we'll go and pick the wall up, back up, and then boom out with the teleskid. Obviously a telehandler's got a lot more boom length, so we wouldn't even have to pull in there. We can center up, grab it, lift it, and just pull the boom in. So we'll get this all hooked up and start lifting. Back up a little. Yep. Both of them. Alright, so now that we have it stood up, we're gonna plumb it and get our structural lags in there just to hold it in place. We'll put a brace on it both ways, and then we'll just continue down the line. Right there. Give me a pencil. Alright, so now we'll hook up to our next section, and this is a little bit trickier because you have to think every other girt has to overlap, so you kind of have to take your wall in at a slight angle and make sure those get on the right side of the column, but Justin will film that while we're doing it. Alright, that's going to be a wrap on today's video. The next video for this build series is going to be about framing up our end wall and running all of our through bolts through the brackets and the columns, so you'll want to check that out. But don't forget, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, share us with your friends, and we will catch you on the next video.